Hi everyone, Chef Garrett, Thienes from Harvest Eatery, here with you today with some semolina flour from Southwest Terminal, and we're going to be preparing a homemade pasta dough. Follow along. First off, we've got our beautiful finely milled semolina flour. This is made 100% from durum wheat grown here in southern Saskatchewan. It's milled, produced, bagged locally right here in Saskatchewan. So for everyone that's been looking for a product like this in the grocery stores, it's now available for you. We're gonna start off just by weighing out our flour. So when I'm doing any pasta, any baking, I tend to weigh versus using cups. There's just a lot of variance if you're using a volume base, but 500 grams is 500 grams. So we're gonna be using 570 grams of the fine semolina flour. Now, for starters, you can tell what we've got is an incredibly high quality semolina. And the reason we know that is the more yellow that the semolina flour is, the higher the quality of it is. So you can buy white and you can buy a little bit more coarse milled. If you have to, that's totally fine. You can use a coffee grinder at home to grind out the semolina down to the consistency you want. It's never gonna be quite as fine as a flour, and that's totally okay, because using semolina in your flour, or pardon me, in your pasta dough, is what gives the pasta that nice bite and crunch. We've probably done a lot of this on our own at home, using just normally milled white flour, and you get your pasta and it kind of is mushy and it falls apart and it doesn't have the same snap. And that's the difference. In Italy, this is what we're using. So I'm gonna kind of cheat because we're doing this at home with you guys today. What we've got measured out here is 8 beautiful egg yolks and 4 whole eggs. We're adding it all to the food processor just to kind of speed up the process. The semolina is a little thicker. You can definitely knead it by hand, and we're still gonna do that, but just to get the dough started, we're gonna add it to our food processor and give it a quick pulse. As you guys can see here, we're starting to get a nice mealy consistency, which is what we're looking for. So we'll just grind that a little bit longer. And we're just trying to make sure that all of our semolina has been incorporated. I think we look great here. So we're gonna make a little room. If you've got a marble tabletop or a very flat surface that's not wood, that's definitely something I would recommend. The pasta dough itself will stick a little bit. So we're gonna get this out of here and just work it with our hands until we achieve the consistency that we're looking for. If you find it is sticking a little bit to your surface, just a touch more of the semolina on the surface you're working on and on the flour is gonna help. But you don't wanna go too heavy, because you're gonna dry it out. Same goes for moisture. If you find it's a bit dry, you can add a little touch of water or a little bit more egg. I would recommend water first, because too much egg and it's gonna bind a little too heavy on you. So we're just trying to work this with our hands, make sure everything's nicely combined. You don't have to stress too much about overworking it. I think as long as we've got a fairly good consistency with the dough, we're gonna let it chill. So I'll usually form mine into a nice ball, and then we're gonna take a little piece of saran wrap here. And this is just to keep it from drying out. So don't stress too much. If you wanna throw it in a bin with a towel, a bowl, that'll work as well for you. Pop that into the fridge. We'll give that about an hour to rest. Awesome, so we've got our dough, been resting for about 45 minutes to an hour, just enough to chill it. You literally could leave this overnight. If you do leave it longer than an hour, I recommend just taking it out, letting it sit at room temp, maybe for 15-20 minutes, because if it's too hard, it'll be tough to work with. We're gonna do a couple types of pasta today, but they all start the same. So whether you have a knife, just lop off a chunk. We're gonna take a little bit more of our semolina. You could use some all-purpose, and we're just gonna dust. And again, not a heavy amount. This is just to keep it from sticking as we roll it out. I recommend a strong, heavy rolling pin when working with pasta doughs in general. And we're just gonna slowly work it out from each edge. And you wanna get down to about 1/4 inch thick. Really, it's ultimately up to you. If you were gonna make a lasagna sheet, you can make it a little thicker, a little thinner. If you're doing a fettuccine, and if you've got your pasta machine, you're gonna wanna laminate a little bit. And we'll go over laminating here shortly. Now in the restaurant, we would use our pasta roller just because we're doing larger amounts, but not everyone might have access to that. So we felt showing you how to do it with a rolling pin today was best. So we're sitting at about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch thick. You can go a little thicker or thinner. We're gonna make a pasta called peachy first. And this is the easiest one to do at home by hand. You've got your sheet. You're gonna take your knife and just slice this now into thin strips. So once you've got your thin strip of pasta, you're gonna make that into a nice long pasta noodle, gently rolling between your hands. So you can make these as thick or as thin as you want. Of course, the thicker they are, the longer you're gonna need to cook them. The key is trying to have them consistent from end to end. If you've got big fat sections in the middle and thin edges, you're gonna find that it breaks down, and you might have stuff that's undercooked in the center, stuff that's overcooked on the edge. So use your table. I usually like to start between my hands because it's a bit of a square shape. So until I've got it rounded, it's not as easy to roll out. Now, if you were to be making a fettuccine, something a little different, you may want to laminate your pasta a little bit. So we were talking about that earlier. Laminating essentially is almost what it sounds like. We're just going to roll it, fold it back over on itself, and then roll it again. And by building those layers, pressing them down, we're actually helping to form the gluten in the pasta a little bit, which is going to maintain structure when cooking. And allow us a little more flexibility to play. The pasta sheet will actually hold up a lot better. I'm gonna be working under the assumption most people that are doing this at home are maybe making enough for themselves or one or two. If not, definitely recommend looking into, there's attachments. If you have a KitchenAid stand mixer, there's usually pasta roller attachments. You can get a manual one, between $30 and $50. You can get an electric tabletop one, usually for around $100. If you plan on making your own pasta, it's worth the investment. If you're only doing it once in a while, you can do it like Nona did. So we're down to 1/4 inch. If you're doing a ravioli, you're gonna wanna go thinner. That's where a pasta machine comes in. But you can see after we've laminated now, about the thickness, and it's just got a lot more play. It's not cracking, it's not breaking. It's easy to handle and work with. I've been kind of trying to square off my shape here because my favorite pasta is pappardelle. And if you've ever had fettuccine, you'll know what I'm talking about. So pappardelle is just nice thick noodles. So we're just gonna square off our sheet, any rough edges. It might be a little thick, but you guys can see the layers, the lamination is pushed together. Ideally, we might want to go a little thinner. You can have some fun. The beauty about making pasta at home, do it your way, do what you enjoy. You buy it at the store, you're gonna get it manufactured for the masses. And then a lot of people ask me, what do I do once I've made all this pasta? Your dough, you could make it all right now or just make what you need. If you want, rewrap your dough. You can put it back in the fridge or even in the freezer. Save it until the next time you need it. Or alternatively, you can make all your pasta. You can give it a slight dust of semolina. It's just gonna keep them from sticking together. And we're just gonna roll them around our fingers. Make a little nest. And those can go on a tray in the freezer, let them freeze for an hour or two, take them out individually, put them in a bag, and keep them frozen until you need them next time. So, happy pasta making.